Hello, neighbors. Good evening. Welcome to our reading through the testimony of Matthew. May we all learn from what he has to say. So, the Pharisees and Sadducees came up, and testing Jesus, they asked him to show them a sign from heaven. Jesus replied, "When it is evening, you say it will be calm weather because the sky is red. And in the morning, a storm today because the sky is red and threatening. You know how to discern the appearance of the sky, but are you unable to discern the sign of the times? An evil and adulterous generation wishes for a sign, and a sign will not be given it except the sign of Jonah." Then Jesus left them and went away. The disciples came to the other side of the sea, but they had forgotten to bring bread. Jesus said to them, "Watch out and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." They began to discuss among themselves, saying, "He said that because we did not bring bread." Jesus, aware of this, said, "You men of little trust, why are you discussing among yourselves that you have no bread? Do you not yet understand or remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you picked up? Nor the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many large baskets you picked up? How do you not understand that I did not speak to you about bread? Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." At that time, they, the disciples, understood that Jesus did not say to beware of the leaven of bread, but the teaching doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Now, when Jesus had come to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he was asking his disciples, "Who do people say or reckon the Son of Man is?" They said, "Some John the Baptizer, others Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." Jesus said to them, "Who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus said to Peter, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, because flesh and blood did not disclose this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. I also say to you that you are Peter. Upon this rock, what was revealed, I will build my church congregation, and the gates of Hades will not overpower it. I, Jesus, will give you the key of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth shall have been bound in heaven. Whatever you unbind on earth shall have been unbound in heaven." Then Jesus gave his disciples strict orders that they were to tell no one that he was the Christ yet. From that time, Jesus began to point out or make known to his disciples that it was necessary for him to go to Jerusalem and to suffer many things from the elders, chief priests, and scribes, and to be killed, and to be raised up on the third day. Peter took Jesus aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "God forbid it, Lord. This shall never happen to you." Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan," or adversary. "You are a stumbling block to me, because you are not setting your mind on God's purposes, but people's." At that time, Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone desires to come after me, they must deny themselves, take up or bear their cross, and accompany me. Because whoever wants to save their life from peril will lose it. Whoever loses their life for my sake or on my account will find life. For what good or help will it do a person if they gain the whole world but forfeit their soul, their life? Or what will a person give in exchange for their soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in the glory, reputation of his Father with his angels, and at that time repay every person according to their deeds and practices. Truly I, Jesus, say to you, there are some of those standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, and led them up on a lofty mountain by themselves. Jesus was transfigured or changed in appearance before them. Jesus' face shone like the sun, and his garments became as white as light. Behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good that we are here. If you want, I will make 3 tabernacles here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While Peter was still speaking, a bright cloud overshadowed them. And behold, a voice out of the cloud said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard, they fell face down on the ground and were terrified. Then Jesus came and touched them and said, "Get up, do not be afraid." Raising their eyes, they saw no one except Jesus alone. As they were coming down from the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Tell the vision to no one until the Son of Man is risen from the dead." His disciples asked him, "Why do the scribes say that Elijah must come first?" Jesus answered, "Elijah is coming and will restore all things. But I say to you that Elijah already came, and they did not recognize him, but did to him whatever they wanted. So also the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands." Then the disciples understood that Jesus had spoken to them about John the Baptizer. When they came to the people, a man came up to Jesus, falling on his knees before him and saying, "Lord, have mercy on my son, because he has seizures and suffers terribly, for he often falls into the fire and in the water. I brought him to your disciples, and they could not cure him." Jesus answered, "You unbelieving and perverse or distorted generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I endure with you? Bring him here to me." Jesus rebuked him, and the demon or evil spirit came out of him, and the boy was healed at once. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, "Why could we not cast it out?" Jesus said, "Because of the littleness of your trust or faith. For truly I say to you, if you have faith, confidence, the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you. But this does not go out except by prayer to God and fasting. While they were gathering together in Galilee, Jesus said, "The Son of Man is going to be handed over to people, and they will kill him, and he will be raised on the third day." And the disciples were deeply grieved. Now when they came to Capernaum, those who collected the 2 drachma tax approached Peter and said, "Does your teacher not pay the temple tax?" Peter said, "Yes." When he came into the house, Jesus spoke first, saying, "What do you think, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth collect customs or poll tax? From their sons or strangers?" Then Peter said, "From strangers." Jesus said to him, "Then the sons are free, exempt. However, so that we do not offend or stumble them, go to the sea and throw in a hook and take the first fish that comes up. When you open its mouth, you will find a coin. Take that and give it to them for you and me." Then the disciples drew near to Jesus and said, "Who then is greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" Jesus called a child to himself and set the child before them, then said, "Truly I say to you, unless you change or turn and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever will humble themselves like or similar to this child, that one is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever accepts one such child in my name, receives me, Jesus. Whoever puts a snare or stumbling block in the way of one of these little ones who believe in me, it is better for them that a heavy millstone be hung around their neck and thrown and drowned in the depths of the sea. Woe to the world because of its stumbling blocks, for it is inevitable that stumbling blocks come, but woe to the person through whom the stumbling block comes. If your hand or foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it from you. It is better of benefit for you to enter life maimed or lame than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into eternal, age-long fire. If your eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out and throw it from you. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be thrown into the fiery punishment. See that you do not look down on one of these little ones. For I, Jesus, say to you, their angels in heaven continually see the face of my Father who is in heaven. For the Son of Man has come to save from peril that which was lost. What do you think? If any man has 100 sheep, and one of them has gone astray, deceived or led away, will he not leave the 99 on the mountain and go and search for the one that is lost? If it turns out that he finds it, truly I say to you, he rejoices over it more than the 99 that were not led astray. So it is the will of your Father who is in heaven for one, not the will of your Father who is in heaven for one of these little ones to perish. If your brother sins, go and expose to him his fault in private. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. If he does not listen, take one or two more with you, so that by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every matter may be confirmed. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the assembly or congregation. If he refuses to listen even to the congregation, let him be to you a Gentile or a foreigner and a tax collector. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall have been bound in heaven, and whatever you loose or release on earth shall have been loosed in heaven. Again, I, Jesus, say to you that if 2 of you agree on earth about anything that they may ask or request, it shall be done for them by my Father who is in heaven. Because where 2 or 3 have gathered or come together in my name, Jesus, I am there in their midst. Then Peter came up and said, Lord, how often shall my brother or neighbor sin against me, and I forgive him? Up to 7 times? Jesus said, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but 70 times 7 times. For this reason the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his subjects. When he had begun to settle, one subject owed him 10,000 talents, or weight of gold or silver, was brought to him. Since the debtor did not have the means to repay, the king commanded that the subject be sold, along with his wife and children and all he had, to render what was due to the king. So that subject fell and prostrated himself before the king, saying, Have patience with me, and I will repay you everything. The king of that servant felt compassion, pity on him, and released him and let go the debt. But that servant went out and found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 coins. He seized him to choke him, saying, Pay back what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down to plead with him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will repay you. But he was unwilling, and went and threw the fellow servant in prison until he should pay back what was owed. So when other fellow servants saw what had happened, they were deeply grieved, and came and reported to their king all that had happened. Then, summoning the first servant, the king said, You wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me. Should you not also have shown mercy to your fellow servant in the same way I had mercy on you? The king, moved with anger, handed him over to the jailer until he should repay all that was owed. My heavenly Father will also do the same to you if each of you does not forgive his brother from your heart or from innermost part of yourself. I hope we are setting aside our presumptions and things and testing them with what the Lord's witness in Scripture is teaching us. And if it's different, we need to acknowledge that God is right, and we need to change the way we think about things. I hope these are helping. May you have a wonderful day, and may you seek the Lord where you can find him in the Scriptures. Have a wonderful and blessed day.